Republican ticket, we have Tim Jensen.
And the Ramapo River Reserve. Too bad we didn't have a bigger turnout, huh? But we're here, and I appreciate every one of you coming. I've lived in town for 15 years. I've seen a lot of changes. Those of you folks who've lived here a lot longer, some 30, 40 years, I've talked to some folks, seen a lot bigger changes. They understand that we're heading in a direction that a lot of people don't want to go, and that is increased cost of services. Increased cost of services mean you have to pay more for something. When you pay more, the town has to ask every individual to pay a little more. But it's not just cost of services. You know, we talk about taxes, we talk about debt, we talk about income. Where do we get income from in this town? Obviously through taxes. Maybe the police write some more tickets, we get some money that way. But that's not what we have to rely on. We have to rely on the smarts of the mayor and council to do the right thing. I've served on the Board of Adjustment for the past 10 years. I've talked to a lot of business owners over that time. I've talked to thousands of property owners over that time. I understand the needs, the concerns, and the wants of those people. I understand that taxes are high. That's what I hear from everybody. What are you going to do about taxes? Mildred told me she lived in New York. Her taxes were $2,000. Well, guess what? They're $12,000 here. Talked to Lois, who was a school teacher, just retired from Indian Hills. She doesn't want to see pay docs for teachers, and neither would I. It's a valuable service, but we have to pay for them. As Councilman Burns correctly said, we pay on the municipal part of the budget about 20%. School systems alone cost 65% of your budget. I've also heard figures thrown around that we carry an inordinate amount of debt, $15 billion. That's if you look at the surface. If you dig a little deeper, you'll have a clearer picture of what our actual debt is. Yes, we have a $15 million debt. That's the gross debt. But half of that debt is from open space purchases. Who doesn't like open spaces? We all like open spaces, and we pay a tax into that, and we take advantage of those grants when they come. However, out of the, quote, $8 million or $7.89 million of open space debt we have, 4.25 of that, or 4.5, I'm sorry, Don, you probably have a better number to grasp on that, is grant money we get back. So our $15 million debt is really just over $10 million, closer to 11. So when you hear numbers thrown at you, do what I do. I always like to question. I always like to dig a little deeper. What does that mean? How does that affect me? Where does that come from? How did you get that number? And don't tell me it's because someone put it on a website or posted it somewhere. Well, that's just parroting information. You haven't done your obligation as a citizen to look into it. Taxes are an issue. Yes, I live here too. I pay them. I know what they are. It would be wonderful to sit here and say, I have a plan to reduce taxes, but I don't. Not every one of the candidates here can tell you there's a way to reduce taxes and here it is, because there isn't. However, what we can do, stabilize the taxes, look into ways of cutting costs. Does that mean cutting services? Not necessarily. You know, the budget's made up of many different items. Salaries, equipment, capital expenditures, pensions. We have to pay these folks when they retire. We have spent, not me, the mayor and council now has established a surplus fund to cover the cost of unpaid leave for pensioners, such as policemen, municipal workers, who deserve money. If they wanted to retire today, we can start paying those things. We would not want to be in a position like Hackensack, where we had no surplus and had to bond $10 million to pay those folks, which cost the taxpayers even more. So responsible government, the way you look at spending, income, and debt, is very critical to understand. Where are we? How did we get here? What's the future going to be? I would love to say, I can cut your taxes, but I can't. In good conscience, I can't promise you anything. That would be ludicrous. But what I can tell you is, I've worked hard for the town for the past 10 years on a volunteer basis to help those business owners, to help those property owners realize their wants, desires, and needs. I've always looked at property rights as paramount, but tried to work within the ordinances of the town to reach an amicable decision at all costs. There's a law in town that there's not supposed to be any two families, right? You know, mother, daughters, two-family houses. Well, there was an instance where a woman had to take care of her elderly father. They had to sell one house and move in with her. So we gave them a temporary variance until that person passed away, and then it could revert back to a single-family use. The town wants to work with you to make sure your needs are met, but those things cost money. We're not a big town. We don't have a big budget. If we were, well, use the example Ridgewood. They're a big town. They have a lot of money. Mawa, big town, a lot of money, big budget. Oakland's a little town. We have a little budget. We have to look at every item on that budget to understand how do we get there, what can we do. So my position is that we have to look at not just what's going on, but how can we improve every aspect of government? Where are there services that are overlapping? Well, there's two services in town. One's a volunteer organization that I work on. It's called the Zoning Board. That kind of does the same thing that the Planning Board does. Do we really need two bodies doing the same thing, or can we join those services and save some money? I think we can. We can look at municipal contracts. People like the police department. I believe that in good times, we should pay these guys every penny we can afford to pay them. That's our front line. However, we're not in good times. We can't guarantee 5, 7, 12% increases on a yearly basis. We just received, and you all know, Governor Christie said 2% cap on taxes for property owners in New Jersey this coming year. Anybody not understand what that means? Good. That means we can't raise your taxes more than 2%. However, we may have to pay the firemen an additional 5% for their contract. Who's going to make up that difference? So we need what's called a toolkit. Toolkit from the governor that says there are certain budgetary items you can work around a 2% cap. Still maintain your budgetary expenses and try to balance your budget the best you can. So there are ways of making our dollars go farther. That's taxes. Let's talk about downtown redevelopment. I've been a real estate broker for 17 years. Sold a lot of houses in town. Maybe a couple folks in here, I don't know if I recognize any faces. But I understand that property taxes are one of the biggest aspects about buying a house. But it's not the only criteria. We're in a housing market that actually is terrible. Anybody want to disagree with me? I see it on a daily basis because I don't make the kind of money I used to make. I don't think anybody does in this room. Housing market's terrible, and it's going to get worse. We got another 5 to 7 years before we actually see the bottom of this thing happen. Commercial markets are starting to tank. Commercial property owners are walking away from their loans. There was all the major lenders now just put a freeze on foreclosures, which will dilute the market in 6 months with 3 million homes. We already have a 12-month supply of homes in the market. That means there's going to be a 24-month supply of homes in the market. That means if you want to sell, you're going to get less. We have to face economic reality, folks. We're in a tough time. If anybody wants to tell you differently, I think it's all smoke and mirrors. I don't think there's any real way we can look around us and say, there's an easy fix, because there isn't. I've started 3 companies in the past 10 years. One I lost my shirt on. I won't lie to you. It cost me a bundle. But I did okay by the other 2. I've created jobs. Over 2,000 in one company. That's the one I lost my shirt on, by the way. So I know what it takes to make things happen. I know what it takes for homeowners to say, Tim, we need help. Then we got to look at everything. I am the kind of guy that says, where can we do this? What can we look at? Tell me about this. Why? Who? When? I want to know, because that's where you're going to find the details. Stream house is another issue, folks. Oakland received $80,000 in a grant that didn't cost Oakland $1. But it was a study done to tell Oakland what we're going to do with the stream house in the near future. We don't have a choice in what the outcome of that saying is. There will be no referendum on choice for Oakland residents to decide what to do. It will be told to us, this is what you will do. How are we going to build that house if we don't have the money? I heard some great input tonight, that the Historical Society actually has union carpenters, union electricians, union structural workers that can come in for free and do the work with Historical Society guidance. However, we still have to pay for the materials. If we want that stream house fixed, you and I are going to have to pitch in a couple bucks. Because I don't want to raise your taxes just to say we need a pretty little stream house. Fact is, if you ask me, take it down. That's my opinion. But the town may feel differently, and whatever the town wants to do, we have to pony up to do it. I'm not going to paint you a rosy picture, folks. Times are tough. You need people working for you who are willing to go that extra mile, dig a little deeper, and get the job done. I'm running for town council. My name is Jensen. I hope you vote for me. Thank you.